question, or like, tell me a little bit why you like one more than the other. I love when he does that because he's like, oh, this is worth it.
Okay, so the first one was a townhouse. It was a little bit closer to campus than the second one. And I just felt like the building itself was better. There was better parking. And it was a little bit higher off the ground, where the condo was low level. And I know college kids can be dumb, and they know that too. And they were afraid that kids would just be coming in and out of, or knocking on the windows and whatever, and coming out of the one bedroom had a slider. So they didn't feel like it was as secure either.
Price wise, were they similar in price?
It was pretty similar. Yep. Nope. Nope.
And whenever you're working with people like that, always remembering that they're not just a buyer, they're actually a seller. Okay. So thinking about that, like you might be able to sell that one really easy to him. He's going to buy it. Doesn't matter. You want to also think, man, if I had to help this guy sell this in 2 years, could I? And is this the best thing to sell? So a lot of times you'll hear a buyer be like, well, I don't care that there's a train track behind. It doesn't bother me. I don't care that there's double yellow lines on the road out front. It doesn't bother me. And it's okay. I just always say, I just want to make sure you guys know that you're not just a buyer, but you're going to be a seller one day. So you just have to decide, are you going to be okay with that when you go to sell it?
Yep.
Cool.
Good point.
Especially in real estate, because it is an investment. It's not just, a car.
Yeah.
Which can be an investment, but not necessarily, right? Like you have to think about the other end of it.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. Just thinking it changes our perspective when we're looking at stuff. Now, what was important to him about that, about the property? Like, was he needing, I heard safety was important. Was he needing it to cash flow? Was he
He was
talking
paying
about
cash.
numbers or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he wanted it next to BYU. So this
Location.
one was really close, like 50 feet from the campus. So like, yeah. You guys know where it's that pizza place down there on the corner? Brick Oven. It's right by Brick Oven. Yep. So yeah, so it was a great location and the building was in good shape. The HOA was doing well. And so we were checking all that too. Not this one. On the other one, there was more competition
Why do you
Yep.
think there was more competition on the one versus
because it
that
had
one?
just come on, and this one had been on for, I don't even know. I don't feel like it was terribly long time, but
More than a week.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and I don't know why the
So
difference.
he was
Maybe
out of
because
state.
some people wanted more of a one level living, and this one was the townhouse was a 2-story. But we like that, and because I came from an investor background, because that's where I was before I got into being an agent. I was able to, when I did the video walkthrough, like we got really close to like the baseboards and the furnace and all that stuff. And we were checking under the sinks, just, all that. I'm trying to be very thorough so that he could see from the video the condition of the property even before we put an offer on the house, before we had the inspector come and do all his stuff.
Did you do a live or did you do a video? Was it recorded? He could go back and see, or both?
I think I did live with them.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying one is better than the other. Live is good because you can get their feedback right then if they want to look at something a little bit closer. And video is good because then it is like documented.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly, I have found Marco Polo works really good for out-of-state buyers because I can put multiple people on that chat and they can go back in and it's recorded for them so they can watch it. When doing those, I do short videos though, because if not, they can't fast forward through it. Yeah, so I do short videos of rooms when I do that. It's a video for old people. It's Snapchat for old people because it stays in the system. It stays recorded. And most older people, yeah.
Yeah, that's more.
And I find that older people are on it more often because they're on it with their grandkids. So it's the piece of technology that usually older folks are touching and can handle in comparison to other stuff that's just what I
Unless
found.
you have an iPhone.
The- You- just never pay for it. Always get the free version. No.
Wait until you come have a need.
Mhm.
But it's like, other people have to download Marvel. And I'm
So
not gonna download
That's a question that I ask older people, is if they have Marco Polo. So they do, that's my group. And it's because I want it to last. I want it to be there later. And so I actually had a real estate agent out of state was the one who introduced me to it because she was walking us through properties. And I was like, that actually worked great for me and my husband on investment properties. I was like, I'm going to pick up that tool. So only use it if it's worth it. And don't pay for the versions. Poor Bibiana, I think, got stuck paying for a version. I'm like, no, get the free version. Get the free version. So how did you transition? Did he ever see the house in person?
I don't think so. No, I think he closed on it out of state. Yep,
And
he just totally trusted me.
why do you think that is?
Probably because I came in with the confidence of knowing what I was talking about. I had a lot of experience because I was thorough with the video. I had a really good inspector. And so all of these things built confidence, and then they didn't have to be here to see it.
If you had to tell a new agent what they could do right now to learn about talking to investors or even learn about investing, what would you tell them to do?
Well, probably the same things I tell people that are thinking that they want to invest, and that's go to biggerpockets.com, start listening to their podcasts and just interacting with some of the people on there, so that you get familiar with the terminology. And then I spent a lot of time at the RIA meetings, which are the Real Estate Investor Associations. Tons of time with those people and Bigger Pockets.
Podcast.
Millions of people are on there around the world. Yep. They have multiple podcasts now. They only had one at the time I started.
But you'll
But-
start hearing the terminology. It'll start you'll
Mhm.
start to get into that world. And your investor clients are already listening to that.
A lot of times. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So Bigger Pockets, you'd have them listen to that. What else do you tell them?
To be around the RIAs, and then just
Riaz, tell me again, because
Real Estate Investor Associations.
so just Google that, Real Estate Investor Association. Does it cost to be a part of that?
Mhm.
Okay.
You can usually go to, there's 5 major ones that I know in the area. One in Utah Valley, one in Salt Lake, that's the Utah RIA. Then there's the Salt Lake RIA, there's Northern Utah, and then there's one down south. And they all try to provide value. They all have different, it's like $150 a year,
Okay. It's not
maybe
too
for a
crazy.
single person. And then that just gets you in for the main meeting once a month with a meal. But there's plenty of them that are free. Most of them have some like luncheons that they do a couple times a month, that you can just show up to the luncheon, and they just encourage you to buy wherever it is. But the training that they do that day is totally free. And then you're rubbing shoulders with other people that are either trying to get into it or very experienced. And then that's very helpful.
How do you take a buyer who then you've given them that and that now they're like, no, but I want to buy. What's the next step that you take that investor through? All the things you had no idea we were going to talk about. this.
Right. Okay. So we teach the quadrant for investing, and that there's 4 ways to make money when you invest.
Mhm.
Cash flow is the one that most people talk about, but it's very hard to do in Utah, especially now that we had all this inflation the last few years. So it's it's educating them enough that they can make the right decisions, because we can't make the decisions for them, but educating them.
In the email that we send out, I'll send a a recording that I had done on the 4 quadrants as to how we teach, like how I teach it. For me too, like teaching real estate investing, I want to be able to teach it on a napkin. I want it to be simple enough for people to understand those 4 quadrants and why people who own real estate are wealthy. And it isn't from cash flow. That's not where they get their money from. And then we're going to practice as a group how to teach it to other people. But I'll send that recording. It's kind of corny. It's just a Zoom that I did for clients. But then you guys can we won't have to take that time here to kind of go over the basics of that, because I think that is key.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Do you know when you first started working? I'm sure there's levels of investors. And the level, from what I understand, is that he was buying something so his children could live in it, and which is probably a different level of investor than one that buys a $3 million Airbnb. And did you know that he was going to be that second part?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope. Nope. It was really from our inside sales rep, a hand off. Here, go show him this property. And so before I did that, I looked it up, wanted to be a little familiar with it, found another one that was close by that seemed to meet the same criteria that he was looking for. I said, oh, let me show this one to you too. So I did the video and we hung up and I went over to the other one, and I think we were doing maybe we were doing FaceTime. I don't know. And did the other one there. And then we talked about it, went back and forth, and then they went and talked about it and then came back and we decided to put an offer on the other one. And so, yeah. And then, like I said, so that was in August. He said he was going to explore in January the idea of buying like a multifamily, so an apartment complex in the Provo area. So I was starting to do some more research on that, just to be watching the market and whatever. And I would say 6 weeks after he closed on the first one, he's like, hey, we're going to come out in November and we want to see these. We want to get an Airbnb at Sundance. And these are the properties we want to see. Well, I was slammed that week. And I'll be honest, I'm like, okay, he's new. He doesn't really know what he's doing. I'll look at these in a few minutes. And it took me like 3 or 4 days before I looked at them. And I was like, oh, multi-million-dollar homes. Let me get this shifted to my priority list over here. So preparing that and then doing some more research on the area and whether or not it was a good investment, because he did follow up asking that question because he wanted to make sure that it was going to continue to be profitable for them in the future. And yeah, and so it wasn't until they came out in November, that's when I met them for the first time.
And then I know that you like mentioned it earlier, but where did you say that you found this buyer?
My real estate team gave me the lead. Yep, they had nurtured him from, I'm thinking he just found the website. And he's in Texas, and then they just would call him periodically and follow up anytime he was curious about a property, and they'd send him more properties and he'd say, oh, this is the one. And that was.
So I have a similar buyer that is out of state that had a son that was going to be coming to BYU. And I guess I'm going to share this so that you guys also, when I say there is 6% of people in your database ready to buy or sell or know somebody. So they were in my neighborhood. So they weren't. I had somebody in my neighborhood call me and say, hey, do you still sell real estate? I had done just a little bit of work with his wife at some point in time. She did yoga. He says, my boss is in Texas. He's looking for a real estate agent. There's somebody in our database. So they've bought multiple homes up by BYU. Keep thinking their kids are going to go. Not once have they ever lived in them. And then they had neighbors who had kids that were coming up to school. So I ended up helping their neighbors source properties up by BYU as well. So a lot of out-of-state type people. So if you can do the kind of things that you're talking about, the thing is being like acting as if you're them. Would I buy it? Would I let my parents buy it? Would I let my sister buy it? Is why they'll keep working with you over and over and be like, I have a lady that'll help. So when you guys also are like, should I be marketing to people who are out of state? Yes. all of your people who are out of state, because if any of them, especially if they're of the LDS faith, it will matter. Their kids are coming to school or their neighbors' kids are coming to school and they already have a real estate agent in town. You're working on them. What questions do you guys have for her? Since you get to pick her brain. She's pretty cool.
Why are you on a team and not?
My husband asks me that all the time. That's being recorded. No, there's some really great things about being on a team. The environment, so the camaraderie, that we're there for each other, that's the first place we go when we need somebody to show a property because we can't get there. So we have a lot of support system that way. We do trainings and we talk a lot about investing, and that's one reason why I love this team is that that's their focus. We've talked about seller financing, which is not something that most agents know about. And that's a big thing that we do. The team I happen to be on happens to be owned by Johnny, who's our region director. So he and Clay are partners, and they meet with Gary Keller at least quarterly. So we have like a direct line into Gary Keller, which is so helpful because then they come back and say, this is what Gary's teaching all of his people right now at a high level. And this is what he's anticipating. So stuff before it trickles down to everybody else. So being ahead that way has been super helpful. We have an in-house transaction coordinator, just takes care of our team. And he's a licensed agent. So that's super helpful because then he can write addendums for us where a typical TC can't do that. And we have an in-house marketing person, and she makes our flyers for our open houses. She does a bunch of our social media posts. And then anytime anybody on the team has a listing, we all post about it. So then it gets more coverage, but it also seems like you're doing a lot more business than you are because it's the other people on your team. So
I think we should do that, actually. I think you guys should be like, I'd love everybody to be able to market everybody's properties because I think it helps everybody.
it,
We have the team. We have all that.
The good news is Sydney's working on it. I don't know if you guys know that. So they're working on putting together a program for it with Sydney upstairs. Sydney's done some work for me recently on our Saratoga stuff. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so those are just a few of the reasons. We have
Yeah.
parties. We
Taco Tuesday. Sometimes I'll be like, you guys made pizzas or something down here the other day. I was like, what are
Yep.
you doing?
I wasn't here for
So,
that one. I don't
I
know
think,
where we were.
I think there's
But-
just a lot of being able to have camaraderie and access and resource and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then the inside sales team.
Yeah.
So they made 11,000 conversations last year, just the two of them. And I can't even remember hundreds of appointments they set for us, and which ended in, I don't know, $20 million worth of business for our team.
So it's been really interesting to watch Johnny and Clay because I've watched them build and go down and build and go down as they learn, right? So the red book, and you guys know the organizational model. We have 4 models in the red book. What's interesting right now, you guys are in the spot that the one model you need to master. Do you guys know what the one model it is you need to master out of the MREA right now? Lead generation model. That's the only model you need to master right now. But I've watched them work through the budget model and really work on it and really master it. And the more that they get and they use that as their base. Where's Dave? He's the one that asked me if it was still relevant. I'm like, yes, that is what the red sign is based off of. I think I have Dave on. I think he wasn't feeling great. So, but that is how the red sign team runs their whole business is off of the MREA. And then I've watched them build their organizational model. Okay, that is after you have so many leads, now who do I hire? So often you think you should be hiring a buyer's agent to help show houses because you're so busy. No, 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 no. You have got to hire an assistant. You've got to build out your system and you've got to build value so that when you bring in a buyer's agent, the buyer's agent has all the things that Adrienne is talking about. They have the support, they have the TC, they have the training, they have the marketing, they have the support. If you hire the buyer's agent before you do that, you'll lose them and it's not fair. And you won't be able to
And you're
attract
spending
talent.
so much time trying to teach them what to do and provide for them that you're not taking care of your clients and being as busy.
So
you
as
need
soon
to.
as you get your lead generation model down, then the next one is to get your organizational model down. And really all that is hire an admin. And honestly, the year that I had just me and Leisha, I put so much more money in my pocket and my life was so much simpler than as it like you build out. Like, yep, there's a lot of people you pay when you start to build, but you and an admin, you could probably do 70 transactions with you and a good admin.
A Ritz.
Yeah. You'll want to master the budget model still. Just understanding where your money is going and not just because I also have seen solo agents that don't ever look at their accounts. They don't understand that they've spent everything they've made. And whether you're on a team or not, it is absolutely not what you make. It is what you keep. In life, all of it, right? If you get up at the end of the day and you're like, why did I do all of that? Yeah. And so we got to be careful because we'll see the top line of what's coming in and real estate agents very, very often are like, woo, look at that big check. And they're out there. And it is gone. It's gone. It's gone.
And you have to remember like a third of what we make goes to taxes. So you gotta make sure you set aside money for your taxes and
And if you can get in front of it though, and you get that money and you're able to get it invested, then you really are able to leverage us as real estate agents. We have so much more potential for savings on our taxes than anybody else. Okay. Other
Absolutely.
people, your other real estate investors are going to cap on how much they're able to write off every year. You as a real estate professional do not have a cap. That is why Donald Trump does not pay any taxes. He's doing it the legal way.
no.
It's
But the
a
way that he
real
does it, it's
estate professional is what would be deemed that. And a real estate professional actually isn't even somebody who is licensed. It's somebody who spends more time, full time, doing real estate investing than they do their current job. It's going to be very hard for you to justify it if you're a doctor that you're a full-time real estate investor unless you have your real estate license.
has to be about 14 hours a week on average for the entire year in order to be considered a professional. So you don't have to be a licensed agent. It could be property manager. You could just be managing your own properties, but you have to track that I'm spending this much time marketing my rentals and this much time cleaning my rentals or whatever it is or
But
searching for my
It is
properties. Yep.
huge. It is huge because some of those years that we're making over 300,000, like my tax bill in those years was maybe less than $10,000 because we were doing cost segregations on our buildings and we were depreciating the crap out of everything. I really had a hard time getting a loan for my house.
You have to find the right lenders for that.
And it perpetuates it then because we've depreciated all of our properties. So we got to buy another one so we can depreciate that. And then if I can save 30 grand on my taxes there, that money goes into the next property for the next year. It will become a cycle, but you have to keep the money or you can't get it invested. And everyone's different. Everyone values different things, but I would much rather have a house than a ring or a car or I'm like,
Purse or shoes.
yes, buy me a house, buy me an investment property. Yeah.
The dumpier, the better.
See, and I totally am like new construction. I want it moving ready. And I love that we can be different and we'll both have success at it.
No, but I can't, like I said, I came from the investor world. So I huge tribe of flippers. That's where I came from. So you walk into the ones and they smell so bad, like somebody died in there and they had a million cats. Hopefully. But we always said, oh, it smells like money because most people run
Oh,
away from it
yep.
when it smells like that. So. Yes, and I have friends that do stuff like that, but it is a long game on that because you have to go through the city and do the entitlements, and it can drag out and cost a lot of money before you can get to the point where you could either turn around and sell it to somebody that will actually do the
build out the improvements.
yeah, there's
Mhm.
another term for that when it goes up. Anyway, so, or if you do it yourself where you start building the buildings. So Red Sign team has a huge development right off the Benjamin exit. You guys know where that is? Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. So the Red Sign team owns all that land and it's been 5 years in the works and they're just now starting to
And
do stuff.
some of the challenges that you have is those 4 quadrants we talk about, you lose them when you're dealing with raw land. You no longer get to depreciate the property.
Yep, you can't
There
depreciate
isn't
land.
probably going to be cash flow. I mean, you might get a little money from cows. Like you lose what makes it so great. It's not quick and everybody has their own strategy. I have money in on that investment. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I should have just bought me some property. No, we'll
It's
be good.
coming.
We'll hold it.
Coming.
We're
Yep.
we're gonna make it.
Sit tight. Yep.
Um,
But the other agent that I had joined her team and worked on, she was working on State Street in Linden. And the city just kept pushing back on anything that would make the deal make money. No, it needs to be single family homes and they need to have this big a property. Well, then it was just cutting into any type of profit they could have if there was not some multifamily, any condos or townhouses that they could put in there, then they weren't really going to make money. And so then it just dragged it out and dragged it out. And so you have to be able to politic, and that's a whole other thing.
there's a couple of good books that KW has out. One, you guys all know how I feel about MREA, but there are 2 investment books that KW has that has really good information in it as well. The yellow book is called Hold. And the other one is MREI. Million.
Flip.
Oh, I have not, you could tell that was not my jam. I did not read that. MREI, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and then Flip is green, right? Now that I say that, I bet it's green.
I think so. Yep.
They're
Yeah.
all KW books. And you know what's
You can get most of them
interesting?
upstairs.
The MREI book is one that a lot of people give as closing gifts. At a regular, at your closing, give them that blue book and say, I know you just bought a book, but I want to make sure I can
Bought a
be your-"
house.
or bought a house. Thanks. I know you just bought a book. It was
Here's
400,000.
another one.
Expensive book.
Yes.
I know you just bought a house, but my job is to make sure that I'm helping you. And so on the next house you buy, I want to be able to help you invest. So kind of and they have those upstairs if you want to buy any of them. If you guys, I think I have most of them in PDF. If you'd rather just have a PDF, let me know and I'll share the PDF with you. So I don't.
Some people do on their like
I-
Kindles or whatever. but
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna listen or touch it. I'm a paper one.
I have to highlight everything.
The Hold is a cool, what's that? Mm-hmm. I always like that it has to sit in their house. They gotta
See it.
choose to give that sucker away every time they look at it. No, I haven't ever given, I actually only gave it, I did just give it away to my last one that I just closed on, but they bought an investment property. And so, and I actually gave them 2 books, one for the wife and well, hopefully he wants the investment book. I bought her the 5 Secrets You Must Discover Before You Die. It's a good book. Changed my life book. On the Hold, there's actually really great tools online If you go to kellerinc.com, there are free investment tools you can share with your people. So when we do that basics of real estate investing, a lot of those tools we'll use in the class, and then we'll share those tools with as a follow-up you can share with your clients. But you can go on right now. They have calculators that are on there. You can plug your numbers in there. It's just, again, tools and stuff that you can share with other people that help you become the expert. So kellerinc.com. Cool. I hope today was valuable. I'm so sorry. Honestly, we've gone through my buyer consult so many times. I will give you a quick review of what my buyer consult looks like. We would have a few minutes. I'd ask you what your motivation is. Why are you moving? What's causing this move? Tell me about your family. What are your must-haves in your property? And then I asked, do you know how real estate agents get paid? And I just bring out my buyer broker agreement then. And I just say, great. Well, the good news is listing, the listing brokerage is actually going to be, they pay us to bring motivated, qualified buyers to your home. So we go through that. Typically, they're going to cover all of the expense of our brokerage fee. And then I go through the buyer broker agreement with them. That's why I always have hard copies. It will serve you if you take that buyer broker agreement and learn it upside down. When you practice it away from you, not forward you, facing you, and be able to underline a few things. So I circle something or underline something in each section, and I just run through that. There are lots of scripts that we've recorded that before. After that happens, I say, I know that was a ton of information. Do you guys want to know what the process actually looks like if we find a house? They usually say yes. And I say, well, the best way for me to do that is let's just picture, that 4-bed, 3-bath, 2-car garage house that you just told me about. Let's say we walk in there today and we love it and we're going to make an offer on it. Let's run through what that would look like. And I take the REPC out and we walk right through the REPC and go, great. Do you guys know what earnest money is? Awesome. Typically 1% of the purchase price. This is real money. It's going to get we just run all the way through that. That's my buyer consult. That's why it's not that exciting. I need somebody else
I
to
like
do.
that version too.
I love
it's totally
it.
different than what
It's
Amy does.
just who I am, because I'm like, let's just talk about it. And what I have found is when I get done with that, if they're not ready to sign the buyer broker agreement, once I've gone through the contract and I'm like, so are you guys ready to put me to work? They say yes. And I get to the end of that contract. I'm like, there was so much we just covered, you guys. But the good news is you don't have to worry about any of that. I take care of that. I will make sure we take care of this for you. You guys ready to put me to work? And then we sign the buyer broker agreement and we're set. So for me, I feel like that as soon as they understand how it works, they're ready. So we recorded it in our last office hours. We kind of talked about it a little bit about what happens. Let's talk about multiple offers. And I walked through what we would do in each section for multiple offers if we were competing. And then when we walk into that house, they're ready. They're like, this is the one, Angie. You know that one thing, do that. And they're ready for it. And so for me, that's just all I do. I would love to hear somebody else's, though. We'll get somebody else to come. Poor Amy. I might make her record it and no one will have to be in person. And you guys can just do like a little like on
was really
Zoom.
good.
That
Yeah.
would be great. Just down your own computer.
We do that all the time.
I would love
We
that.
have
I
a
think
lot
you
of
would
out of
love it.
state clients, and she said just a couple nights ago, I think she did like on a Google Meet or whatever. That's how she did that. And I do that all the time too.
I love it. Thank you for your time. Do you guys have any final questions for her before we let her go?
Of course. You guys reach out anytime.
Awesome. I appreciate you so much. You guys got questions? You good? Oh, wait, you had a question and I told you I'd hold off. We were talking about buyer consult. I do. It's weird for me not to, because one of the other scripts I will say is it's really important to me that we go through this right now, because when we find the right house and you guys go to make an offer, I want you to feel totally comfortable and confident clicking away on your cell phone when I send it to you to sign. I want you to just be able to go click, 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 and know that I've got it taken care of. And almost always they have enough time and that's what they want to know about, that they'll sit through it. It's a lot of information and it is heavy. not heavy. It is. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of stuff. You're talking about possession, you're talking about
That's why
settlement,
they're
you're talking
practicing
about
professional.
amen. And when we go through all of that, and if you can talk about your exclusive right to sell or your buyer broker agreement and your REPSI, and if you can teach somebody else about it, and if you can talk about that and master it, they won't question you. They will trust you no matter what that looks like. And I do it on Zoom sometimes as well. It just depends. I like to be in person. I love to just, I will scan them and send them to the TC when I get done. So, and we have, Ritz can include a couple of those recordings where we've gone through what line by line, but I'm like, I've done this and we've recorded it. I want somebody else's buyer consult and my, I'm a super high D, so I'm like contract, like I'm gonna do this. My buyer's agents on my team are typically a lot softer and they're so much more fun. Their consults look so different. They think, man, Angie, you're just,
Too direct.
uh-huh. They're like, this is too much information. Can we just go look at houses? So they're so fun. So a lot of times I might even sit in a buyer consult with them and me and the person I'm trying to refer over to them. And they can just pick up like, oh my gosh, let's go do the fun stuff now. And I need them to. So Becky's actually out showing today for me. I've already gone through this with my people. And they're like, I don't know. Like we went through listing their house and what's that going to look like? They got to go do something fun now. So and I'm no fun to look at houses with. I don't enjoy it at all. I don't like it. I don't want to look at one more house. I don't care. I don't care about the wainscoting. I don't care about the wood floors. I would like some industrial floors. I don't care about that bathroom.
Probably different levels too.
It brings me no joy. I don't enjoy the parade of homes.
Oh my gosh, that's why.
I know, I understand. I force myself to have to go because people always ask me about it, but I go to 2 or 3 so I can talk about it, but I can't, it's not my jam. I love your like, that smells like money, man. I'm gonna probably use that. That one was so cool. I did go to that one. Up Mapleton, right? Ugh. That's where I want to, but yeah, I want,
No street parking. That's why it's
Well,
gonna be
yeah.
good, because that house.
you're away. Oh, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that one though, because the thing I liked about that one is it was so unique and the spaces were curated. Like you could feel like you were at home. I felt like I was on the Friends set. Does that make sense? Like it was interesting and it was just like cozy. Like you just felt like,
I removed the links that was forwarded earlier. So I've changed this so that we could track the attendees. And I've set the preset flyer as well as a Canva template in here. So if you click that one, you just use template for new design. Simply upload your photo right here. Example, Ian's photo here. And then you change your details
That's
right
perfect.
here. All right, thanks.
Great.
Mike.